I got hit and I thought it was a dream. I woke up on the side of the road and I went to go tell my buddy Scott this crazy dream that I just had. And I look over and his face is just all bloody. He's screaming. And I was like, whoa, dude, that was not a dream.
Trenten, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely, Joe.
The stash is strong.
Dude, it's a vibe.
How long have you been growing that out?
Bro, this, that's a great question. I don't, maybe I shaved it like 2 weeks ago, I think. Like I went clean cut, but I was having a goatee. I was rocking a goatee for a while. And then I went out to Idaho for a wedding. And me and my buddies, like, we like dressing like cowboys. We like wearing cowboy hats. And we like listening to country music. And I just remember one of my buddies had a stash, a thick stash, and I was like, dude, it's such a vibe. And so I just trimmed up the goatee, dude, and I was like, stash all the way. And then there's a couple other athletes where I train too, and we're like, dude, the stash bros.
The stash bros?
Yeah, super stash bros.
Who's got the best stash?
Oh, dude, like a celebrity or like
No, I'm
athlete?
I'm talking about the guys where you train.
Oh, bro.
Out of the stash bros.
Oh man, I think mine's pretty clean, but I mean, it depends on what you're using for like criteria and rules. Because mine's a thin stash,
It's
you know.
thin.
Yeah,
I was gonna
but
say that.
it's a style, dude. I don't get a really thick stash, so I would say there's some guys out there that we're talking to, and I think that a lot of the guys are gonna just have a stash for a while. So I think it's to be continued, but right now I think my buddy Harrison might have me beat, and that's just because it's a thicker stash. So I think it depends on what kind of rules, but I think I always keep mine cleaner. So, you know,
It looks good. Do you let the barber touch that, or is it all
dude,
you?
Oh, bro, I even cut my own hair sometimes. Yeah.
You cut your own hair?
Yeah, dude. I learned how to do that when I was in Arizona. Just like I wasn't finding barbers that I liked,
Yeah.
and so I was like, you know what, dude? Like clippers are around like $100 or less, and like I'll pay that off after like 4 or 5 haircuts, you know. So
Was that like a COVID like hobby or?
no, dude, that was back in 2015.
Okay.
And then I would like off and on go to barbers, but there was something cool about like cutting my own hair and like doing it in the mirror, and then like also being like, dude, I kind of like paid myself $20, you know?
Yeah.
Like what else could I do with that $20? I can go out, buy some cool food, or I can go buy a stock, or I don't know.
Bro, I tried to do that during COVID. We actually did like this little barbershop IG where my wife was gonna like buzz my hair.
Yeah.
And we had like these horrible clippers, and it ended up just like totally failing, and like it was absolutely miserable. We had to stop, and I just had jags all up in my hair, and I was like, I'm just gonna keep going to the barbershop.
Dude, a good pair of clippers will go a long
long
ways. Yeah, and especially if you keep them clean, like some Cool Care, like cleaner, the like lube and like antibacterial, like it cleans it as well.
You're official. You're
Dude,
official.
I did like I go into like rabbit holes. Like when I get into something, I go deep. And so I was doing like a ton of research, watching all these guys like cut hair, like cut their own hair, cut other people's hair.
Yeah.
I was like buying like the shaver too and stuff. And I've messed up my hair though too. So, you know, it's a lot of trial and error. Yeah.
All right. So for listeners who might not know who you are, you've got a really cool story. I've got to like research it a little bit, but this is obviously our first time meeting in person. Paralympic athlete. You've gone to 2 games now, 2016 and 2020, medaled in 2020 in Tokyo in the long jump. And you just have an incredible story. Obviously, a big part of your story is losing your leg, but maybe take us back a little bit before then, like what you can remember growing up as a kid, like what life was like, what were you into, like were you a big sports guy, like did you have dreams of like what you thought your life might look like?
Dude, 100%. I think my earliest memory was playing sports in my driveway in Dana Point, and my dad like taught me how to play all these sports like before I even had a younger brother, and we're only 3 years apart. So I had some like early memories of like shooting hoops in the front yard, and I didn't remember this, but I remember he was telling me, he was like, dude, you were so competitive as a young young kid. He was like, your mom would come out and say, dinner's ready, we need to come inside. And if you were losing, you wouldn't go. He's like, you would not go. You'd refuse to go until you won. And I had no idea. I don't remember that at all. And so for me, I was like, dude, that's why like God just made me super competitive. And my dad just by the grace of God taught me how to play all these sports. And so for me, that was like my identity, like sports, dude. I'm competitive, like whatever sport I get into, I'm going to be good at it, like better than most, like just to begin with. And then, you know, the work ethic is what's going to take me to that next level. But
how old were you when you got in the accident?
14.
Okay.
14. So freshman year of high school, spring break, and I was playing soccer at the time. I was racing motocross, and those are my two favorite sports.
Yeah.
And
did you want to like be professional in either of those, or?
I did. I knew that motocross would take a lot more work. Like that would take a lot of money too, which I didn't have, like to pay for myself. My parents didn't either. So is this good, or do I need to move this down?
No, you're good, bro.
All
like,
right, cool.
Right here. Patrick, is he good audio wise?
All right,
Cool.
we'll just run with it, man. Not going to touch it.
Yeah, you're good.
So
motocross was not.
I mean, dude, it was just like, it was so fun. It was adrenaline racing. Like you'd be on the starting line, like almost like feeling like you want to throw up because your heart's just racing. Sure. And then it's like, boom, those gates go down and then you just go blank. And then it's like second nature. And it was just 30 minutes of all you got. And so I love that like competitiveness of motocross and how hard it was. And I like challenging sports. Soccer was fun. I saw more potential in that. So, I mean, for me, really, it was like anything that it was just, you know, choose one, you know, and as long as I'm progressing, I'm going to continue to love it.
Did you do any surfing?
I did. I still surf.
You can still surf?
Dude, yeah. I got a quiver of boards at my house.
Really?
Yeah, bro.
Dude, we have to go sometime.
You surf?
That was like one of the first hobbies like I picked up out here being in Orange County.
Dude, you okay? All right, yeah. I remember seeing that on your Instagram.
Yeah, so I love the surfing. Yeah. That's rad that you can still do it.
Yeah, dude. I haven't been in probably like 5 or 6 months. And so when I like go back out, if I haven't been in a long time, I usually go down to Sano, bring out my longboard. It's like a boat.
Dude, Sano's a vibe.
Oh yeah, you sit. I love how you can park on the beach.
It's awesome.
Like it's one of the few beaches down here that you can just stay all day and like your truck's like right on the sand.
Yeah.
Also, like given they usually have a huge line to get in that park.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. If you don't get down there before like 10 o'clock, you're gonna be sitting for like 30 minutes.
Afternoon times are like kind of good too though, because a lot of people are usually like leaving if they've been there all day, and like sunset surfing is like it's super fun.
I have not been sunset surfing in probably 2 years. Yeah, out here in Orange County, like Huntington or Newport, it like gets windy and the water just kind of gets choppy. So it's got to be like a low wind day.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not a big fan of wind anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in the beach too, you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah, you're not a big fan of wind because it messes with your craft.
It does. Long jump, does. Dude, every sport that I played pretty much, long jump, dude. When I was in motocross, like when you hit a big jump and if there's a big gust of wind that comes through, you get pushed in the air. So yeah, me and wind have never liked each other.
Wait, so the accident actually involved like a dirt bike, right?
Yeah, I was on a small dirt bike with my best friend Scott, and he still is in like OC as well. And we built like a little pit bike track in his front yard. So it's like the little bikes, like the mini bikes.
Yeah.
And we both had mini bikes, and we used to ride that like all day whenever we couldn't go to the track and ride our bigger bikes. And so one day we were just like, we went to my house to go fix my pit bike, and we forgot a tool. And so we're like, whatever, like we'll just come back and we'll like take turns. And so we headed back on the same bike, and we had done this like countless times. And then just this one day, you know, we looked both ways and we didn't see any cars coming. We started crossing the street and we got hit by one. And what happened was like the center median that divided the two lanes, the bushes were too tall, and the trees like came down, there like shrubs and like these trees that came down. So it created a wall, and the 16-year-old girl was driving a BMW, and she didn't see us. We didn't see her because the car was underneath the bushes, and it was just like perfect time. Like right as we got in the other lane, boom, dude. I remember seeing this like the front bumper of this BMW and just being like, dude, I had the craziest dream that I just got hit by a car. And I woke up and I was like, that was reality.
So how far were your houses apart? Was this just like a quick like we shot between neighborhoods, or
like we had to go through neighborhoods?
Okay.
So it was still in San Juan. He lived on San Juan Creek Road, and I was in San Juan Hills. So I mean, on a dirt bike, it probably took us like maybe 15 minutes, maybe.
Okay.
But in a car, like, you know, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes.
So you guys, there's 2 lanes. Let me get this
Yeah.
right for the viewers. And then there's a median with some bushes. You guys are like looking, your lane is cool. You guys are cruising out. And as you guys are going through the median, this BMW is flying by and nails you.
Yeah, pretty much. So like here's the other thing, like to paint this picture, down San Creek Road, it goes to a dead end. And it's all neighborhoods on one side, and then on the other side is like all horse stables. And there's a bike path that's closest to the horse stables that's separate from the street. So we were at the horse stable side, and we looked both ways, and we've crossed this street so many times, but it's the only street that didn't have a stop sign. And a kid had gotten hit there before, and I didn't find that out till like later in life, but they put a stop sign like right after I got hit.
Mm-hmm. So you get hit and you just like black out and wake up in the hospital?
No, so I got hit and I thought it was a dream. I woke up on the side of the road and I went to go tell my buddy Scott this crazy dream that I just had. And I look over and his face is just all bloody. He's screaming. And I was like, whoa, dude, that was not a dream. And so I was like, all right, I was like gathering information. I look over and I see the girl that hit us. She's bawling. She's talking to a cop. And
so the cops are already there.
Yeah.
So how much time had elapsed? Do you know?
No, I don't know. I was out cold, dude. I got knocked out.
So the paramedics hadn't got there yet? Just the cop?
Yeah, just the cop. And then what I did, bro, I grabbed my phone. I had the old Nokia phone. Grabbed my phone, called my dad because I knew he was home. And I told him that I got hit by a car. And he was like, at first he thought I was kind of like joking. He's like, what do you mean? Like, are you serious? I don't know what to believe. And I was like, yeah, you need to come to Scott's house. And so
who's in worse shape at this point? Did Scott like have to get anything amputated?
Yeah, no, but he was in worse shape. He was in more critical condition. So he had hit his face on the windshield, punctured his lungs, broke his back, and chipped his pelvis. So he was coughing up blood. He had to take the first ambulance. I took the second.
So you're calling your dad and are you like in pain at this point?
No, dude, it was crazy. I wasn't. And like a neighbor came through and I knew who she was. And I was like telling her like, hey, can you call my friends? I was listing my friends out and she knew my friends. So she was going through my phone book, calling my friends. They were telling their parents and they were starting to show up one by one. And I was like just in and out of consciousness. I remember like feeling like,
because you were in shock.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember like looking down at my foot because I was like, oh, my foot feels kind of numb. My shoe was gone and my foot was just, my sock was swollen. And so I was like turning around, looking at it, like face down in the dirt, like ants are crawling all over me. And I put my foot back down. I was like, oh, dude, that's for sure broken. Like that does not feel right. And so I was like, okay, well, this is my first broken bone. That's what it probably feels like.
So you weren't on your feet. You were just laying on the ground and like
face down.
Hey, Scott, like I had this crazy dream. He's screaming. You realize, so you're doing all this calling while laying on the ground. Like, is anything else wrong with you other than your leg is just shattered?
I mean, yeah, like my elbows were a little bit like bloody and stuff, but yeah, I was like, it was kind of like just processing everything. You know, like when you see the movies and it was like this white noise.
Yeah.
And it's like you come to.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. So I was like face down and like hear this white noise. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking in my head, like I just had this crazy dream and I go to tell my buddy Scott and then it's like, whoa, dude.
So when I broke my ankle versus the Bengals, I like totally dislocated. It was hanging the other direction, gnarly, like way worse than any other injury I've had. I had a similar experience where it totally like went out of place and like I'm looking down at my leg and it's hanging in the wrong direction. I'm like, it should not be there, but there was no pain. It was like, it was honestly like, have you ever had like BFR or something?
Yeah.
Where like you take it off and it's like blood starts pumping down there? It kind of felt like that sensation a little bit. And then like 2 or 3 minutes after, it was just like raving pain, like just so much pain, like it rolled back in place and whatnot. Was it similar with the shock? Like how long did the shock last before you started like, holy smokes?
So I think like once the ambulance got there, I remember them like arriving and I was still in shock. And then I got in the ambulance and then I went to the hospital And then they put me under anesthesia like right away. So I felt like once I was coming to and anesthesia was starting to wear off, that's when like the foot pain started happening. And I was like on morphine drip and, hitting that button every 30 minutes. And then it was like to the point where the morphine wasn't strong enough. And I was like, dude, this is like excruciating pain.
So walk us through like the next like 24, 48 hours. Like you get to the hospital. Are they like right away? Like we like have to take your leg like to save you? Or was it kind of like, you've broken a few bones, we'll monitor you, and it got worse?
So my thought process was like, I just broke my bone. Like I just broke my foot. I'm going to get a cast and like, it's no big deal. That was just, I don't know why, but that's just what I thought. But it seemed like everybody else knew that I'm probably going to have to get this amputated. But I think, maybe.
Why was that? Why did you get that sense?
I think it was because no one told me that. And so, and it could have been like a positive thing too. Like maybe, I'm not sure, like I'd have to ask my parents, but maybe they were like, told people like, hey, this is what's going on. But like, let Trenton continue to think positive and stuff. Like, cause your body heals a lot faster when you do think more positively about it. And so, I don't know. I could be wrong, but, like they could have also told me I could have been just so doped up on morphine that I didn't even recollect it. But, I remember knowing that it was in really bad shape, like really bad shape.
What ended up like being wrong?
So I wish I had a photo of this. Like my foot.
We'll get it and we'll throw it up. Yeah, for the viewers if you got it.
Dude, I gotta try and dig deep.
Okay.
Like this was on like an old like laptop that I'm not sure if I can, I will.
We'll put it up on the YouTube if we can find it.
Yeah, but essentially, if you just picture my foot just being like an open wound and being like black and red, and you can see my bone, and like it was just super swollen. I had rods in my shins, and my foot wasn't getting circulation anymore. My foot was just completely crushed. So I was on the back of the dirt bike, right? So my feet are under my buddy's feet, and the transmission is on the right side. We get hit by the car. My foot gets compressed between the transmission and the front bumper, and my buddy goes over. I don't know, like dragged or something. I don't know, but my foot was just crushed between the transmission and the front bumper. So complete open wound, foot just crushed, all bones broken, and wasn't getting any circulation in my toes. So eventually I was getting gangrene in my toes. Like they were turning black, and I remember they looked like, carrots when you like in soup and they start shriveling up and getting wrinkly. Yeah. That's what my toes looked like, but black. I was like, oh dude, this isn't good.
When you said you had rods in your leg, was that like from the motorcycle or the bumper?
No,
or
so
was
that
was like what they had used?
Surgery, to keep it in place, keep it from moving and stuff. It was crazy. And then they had...
was there any tibia or fibula?
I don't... Fibia? Dude, from my recollection, it was like straight up just my foot. Huh. And like they tried to... My mom... I think the doctors came to my mom and they were like, we got to amputate this. And my mom was like, no, like we're going to try and save this to the best of our abilities. And so the UCLA med staff was working on my foot, and they put what's called a wound vac on it. And it's like this sponge that suctions onto your open wound, and it's like this plastic sticker material that like suctions on there too and seals it, and they pump or they pull blood out of the open wound and circulate it through this machine and try to bring it back into your toes, into your foot. And I remember when they had to pull that off, that was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. It was the absolute worst. It felt like they were pulling my skin off every time they had to change that. It was the worst.
How long were they doing this for?
Dude, that was like, I don't know, it felt like a month.
You were in the hospital for a month.
Oh, so dude.
Before the amputation took place, how long were you in the hospital?
Yeah, so I was in the hospital, I think total like a month and a half to 2 months. It was a long time. And I was like, freshman year, I was already like 100 pounds, like soaking wet. So I was like skin and bones, dude. It was crazy. And I was in there for a long time.
So was there like a month and a half then before they decided, like, and your mom finally said, like, okay, take it?
No, it was my decision. So I remember we were like doing the wound vac thing for a while. And I remember like the last visit I did, because I was like outpatient. Like I could go home, but I still had my foot. And I was like sleeping on a hospital bed at my parents' place. And I remember the pain was really bad. And then when I went into Mission Hospital and they removed the wound vac, they kept having to put like numbing pain and shots in my foot. And it was just so painful. I was like, this is the worst. Like, how long do I have to do this? And my toes weren't getting any better. And they brought me back into the hospital. And so I was in the hospital then. And then, like, essentially what happened, how I found out, was the doctor came in one day and he, like, I think it's a pretty common procedure where they're like, hey, I'm going to perform a test, like, on the bottom of your foot. I just want you to tell me if you can feel it. Like, for anybody that maybe, like, is paralyzed or something. And usually they use, like, a pencil, but really they use, like, a scalpel or then a knife. So he did that, and I was like, nah, I don't feel anything. And before, I used to have feeling, like, earlier. And after he did that, he looked to my mom. He's like, hey, Denise, can I talk to you outside? And so he takes my mom outside, and I'm alone in the hospital now. And I'm like, something's not right. I'm looking outside the door of the hospital, and, you know, the little rectangle window. Yeah. I see my mom just start bawling. And then I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, no. Like, I'm going to lose my foot. So I just start crying. And then I remember my buddy's mom, she came in, and she just
Is this Scott's mom?
Yeah. Scott's mom, Jen, she comes in. She just starts praying over me. And I remember I just felt like the Holy Spirit came over me. And I just felt like at peace. Like I wasn't like crying anymore. And I remember hearing God, and he was like, I got great plans for you. And I was like so vulnerable and needing some type of hope. And when I heard that, I was just like, all right. Like it was one of those like conversations you have with God, like, man, please don't be messing with me right now, God, because I got nothing. Like I felt like everything, like my dreams of becoming a professional athlete, that's all I wanted as a kid, were just gone, taken away. But because he said that, I was like, I don't know what plans he has for me, but like based off what I know about you, like the little bit that I know about you, like if you say it, then it's true.
Then I'm gonna believe it.
Yeah, like, and now I just needed to hold that word, dude. And I was like, when the doctor came back in, I was just like, all right, let's go through with the amputation.
So when they did that test, it's like the nerve endings were kind of dead, and at that point, there's nothing to save.
Honestly, like, I think in the future it'd be probably different. You know, I like how I'm like recollecting on like motivational speakers and stuff that I've heard, like people that say like you can't do it. It's just a matter of like, because they don't know how to do it yet. You know, not that it's impossible, but at that point in time, like I was getting no blood flow to my foot, so it was getting gangrene. They, in their minds, are like, we need to amputate it so it doesn't keep going up your foot or up your leg, so we don't have to amputate higher.
And so you get this like peace, this word from the Lord, and before the doctor even like says like we need to amputate this, you're like, I know, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so what did the surgery immediately happen, or was it?
Yeah, they were like, okay, let's schedule this, and we're gonna get this going. And I think it was maybe like a day or so later.
So were you thinking they were just gonna like go right above the ankle, or what did you know they were gonna have to take your whole lower half?
So yeah, for any viewers, I like my shin is about like 8 inches below my knee. That's what I have left.
Okay.
And the doctor had explained it. He said, Trenten, like, so this is like a typical procedure for an amputation is we want to go about like 8 inches, like just half of your shin, because during that time for a prosthesis, what you had is you had a socket, a carbon fiber socket, and then you had this metal pylon which connected to a foot. It's all bolt on. And like looking back now, I mean, I was only 14 years old, so I had no clue. I didn't know anything about amputees, about prosthetics. I didn't even know about Paralympics or anything. So they were doing that so that I could have all the best options of what feet I could wear during that time. But going forward now, if I were to go back in time or advise for anybody else, I would say leave as much shin as you can, because if you think of like using your hamstring and your glutes as a lever, like having
the longer the lever, the more torque.
Yeah. So that would have been, in my mind, more advantageous for sprinting and long jumping.
Could they have saved more of your shin?
Yeah.
They could have.
Yeah.
Okay. So they do the surgery, and what's the timetable like to even be able to walk again or start using the prosthetics? Like, what was that next couple months like?
Yeah. So after the amputation, I was in the hospital for a little bit longer, and then I was outpatient. The biggest thing, they were like, okay, well, we need you to like lose all the swelling, because you get a limb chopped off, your leg swells. So to get fitted for a prosthetic, because it's carbon fiber, it's very rigid. You want as much swelling as you go down. You want to get as stable as soon as possible, which takes like, especially if you're growing, I'm only 14 at this time. I'm going to go throughout high school and college and continue to grow. Your limb's going to change size as you put on mass or lose mass, whatever happens. So for me, the process, they were like 3 months, like get the swelling down as much as possible and start doing PT stuff. And then you're going to get fitted for your first prosthetic.
So you were just on crutches, on a scooter for 3 months?
Dude, they didn't even have scooters back then. I wish.
What was that like looking down the first time and like seeing like you didn't have?
Oh, dude, that was a trip, man.
Was that so weird? Like,
yeah, I didn't like it, man.
Because your brain, like, did you still feel like you could like make your toes wiggle?
Dude, yeah, I can still feel my foot and toes. It's trippy. And I remember the doctor telling me that like before. He's like, Trent, you're going to experience phantom pain or phantom sensations. And I was like, no way. I remember telling him that. He's like, you are. He's like, it's going to feel like your foot's still there. And I was like, we'll see. He was right, dude.
That's wild.
I know.
Going back to that word you got from the Lord, did you know, like, at what point after the surgery did you realize maybe what you wanted to do, I guess, post amputation?
Oh, bro, it was like years later. So once I realized what God was doing in my life, it was, I think, when I was maybe freshman in community college or sophomore in community college. I was going to Saddleback Community College in Orange County. Yeah. And the guy that was making my prosthetics at the time, I think it was my freshman year, he invited me to go to this running clinic. It was called a OSER and Challenge Athletes Foundation running clinic. And I told him no, I didn't want to go. And my thing was, I was like, dude, I already know how to run. Like, I thought I was going to, like, I didn't want people to feel bad for me. Like, I went back to sports immediately in high school, and I was competing, and I was outperforming a lot of other people that still had their limbs. And so, or actually, nobody else had a prosthetic.
Wait, how fast did it take you to like get back to be able to compete?
I
feel like there would be a learning curve to learn to walk.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, maybe depending on age, but like, if you think, dude, when you're like a teenager and when you're really young, you're learning skills so fast. And so, like, I bet you it would have been very similar for you. Like, once you got that prosthetic, like, imagine like not being able to play sports with your friends for months and months, like half a year. And then all of a sudden you get your foot and you're like, dude, all I want to go do is play with my friends. And so I walked right away. And then it was a matter of being able to get used to like weight bearing with my prosthesis, because everybody weight bears different as an amputee, like, because you don't want to get pressure points. You don't want your limb to get beat up because it hurts so bad. And so it's just like that process. But I think that took, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks to where I could run. And then I was like, I told my mom, I was like, I don't want to go back to physical therapy. I just want to go play sports with my friends. And so I started going back to the beach and bodyboarding. I started playing, like, just pick up basketball games with my friends, like riding razors, getting back into motocross. And then once school started around, I was like, dude, back into volleyball and like whatever else sport I feel like doing.
So at the junction point where the prosthesis, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Goes on, is that like is there a process of like callousing? Like, I think of like lifting weights and like your hands getting beat up, like where all that pressure is like where your leg is connecting to this steel leg. Dude, for lack of a,
bro. I mean, it's all carbon fiber, dude. I'll take it off right now.
Let's see this.
Let's just put it on the counter real quick for the viewers.
That was quick.
Yeah. So this is a pin system. That's like, I release it right here. with this.
Uh-huh.
But it clicks in right here and it locks in. And so it's a distal, like it stays in right here. And I wear this thing called a liner. This is my liner right here. So that goes over my skin. And this is kind of like, this is silicone. So it's kind of tacky on my skin.
Yeah.
But like right here, like you can see how it's kind of shaped to form my limb. But in the front, like if you look at right here, this is where I like weight bear. Like this is the tighter portion. Like around my
But your leg will go all the way down.
Oh yeah, but I can't weight bear on the bottom.
Okay.
So I don't think they started using what's called I think it's called a girdle surgery, which is where you take part of your bone and you fuse it to your tib fib so you can weight bear distally. And I don't have that. So it would hurt a lot to weight bear down just below.
So all the weight goes through here.
Yeah,
and that is just securing your leg in place.
Yeah. And I have different systems though. So what I compete with is different than this one. But like to your point of like calluses, like right here, dude, I've gotten so beat up. I do have calluses. Like you can see like where we've kind of shaved it down and like added stuff. So that's my foot. But,
and that pin thing, does that go into your bone?
No, dude. All right. But they do a surgery where I think it's called, osteoplasty. Oh, wait, no. Osteointegration, I think. I think that's what it's called. Where they straight up put this rod in your bone. And I think it's more common for people that aren't really active, because if you imagine, like, if you just have like a smaller rod that's not as thick as your bone, and then you're attaching to something like this, where this can move like sideways, you don't have your ankle, or it can like, be changed different angles based off like maybe impact or whatever it is, that rod could, snap.
Yeah.
And so, dude, what are you going to get surgery again?
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't make any sense doing that yet.
Is that like a permanent attachment?
Yeah.
So you're not constantly interchanging?
Dude, this is my, sometimes you got to wear socks based off like the volume of your limb.
Yeah.
But like, dude, this is connected to this liner. This is the pin, but I can like take it off and stuff depending on what kind of socket I want to wear. But yeah, this pin is connected to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
you can take all that off to like shower and
do for sure. You got to, bro. You gotta. Yeah. I mean, it's really important, like as an amputee, to take care of your skin, because it's in this like silicone sleeve or liner. That's what it's called.
For a majority of
the day. Yeah. So you got to clean it, because you're gonna have like dead skin and stuff, and you need skin health. You don't want anything going wrong with that.
So what was getting back into sports like? Could you do soccer?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
that was like your thing.
So the coach was awesome. I went to J. Sarah Catholic High School for 2 years when this happened, and the coach was awesome. And he was like, come on back out. And I started like practicing and stuff. I was right-footed, and I was like, I went to kick the ball, and I was like, I swear, some people thought I was like faking them out, but I was trying to kick the ball, and I was just missing because I didn't have the ankle to like twist my foot and stuff. It's just a very rigid, straightforward. And all my friends, like growing up, they played soccer too, so we'd play in their backyards and stuff, and I learned like how to kick with the prosthetic, and it was this crazy fast like knuckleball, and it was like really hard to actually like stop whenever I would shoot against them. But it wasn't the same for me, and so I just decided that I didn't like it as much, and I just went to like going back to racing motocross, play volleyball. And then I transferred schools. I started like doing like MMA stuff, like jiu-jitsu, and I had a lot of fun doing that. And then I got into wrestling, and I had wanted to wrestle my whole high school career. Yeah. Like I wanted to wrestle as a freshman, but they didn't have it at JSerra. And so when I got to Capo and they had that, I was like, dude, why didn't I start this earlier? Like I should have done this like my junior year too. And I had so much fun. Like I love wrestling.
When you were wrestling, were you allowed to wear the prosthetic, or did you have to take it off?
Well, dude, I think because there was no one else like there was a few other guys that had done it maybe before me, but not at my high school, and it wasn't very common. So I think it was more like just the unknown, and so I just wore it because I didn't know any difference. And I mean, like looking back now, like maybe it would have been better, like because I would have been a lighter weight class. Yeah. So I don't know. I would have definitely experimented with it more. But for me, I didn't see it at the time as an advantage, so I just rocked it.
In high school, what was it like for you coming to school with a prosthetic on? Was that a process to like work through, like people looking at you?
Yeah, definitely, dude. So like when I went to JC, everybody knew about it because it was a really, really small school. It was like the third year there. I would have been the third graduating year. So everybody knew about my accident. But when I went to Capo, it was like, dude, I remember my first day at Capo, like all my best friends were there. But right when I stepped foot there, I was like, dude, this place is chaotic. Like you went from like a strict Catholic small high school to like a huge public school.
And you were going to Capo for 11th and 12th grade?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when I went there, I was like, I wore jeans every single day, bro. And I remember just being so hot and miserable. And I was just insecure during that time. But when I started wrestling, that kind of helped me because you can't hide it in wrestling. And then
they don't let you wear jeans.
Yeah. And then you kind of start to accept it yourself. And then obviously your teammates and stuff accept it too. And it took me time. But I remember when I went to Saddleback, I was like, all right, Trent, like this is a fresh start. Like no one knows you, dude. Like you get a chance to be who you are. And I decided in my mind, like I'm going to be comfortable in my own skin. And if other people aren't comfortable, then, that's their problem, not mine. But I had to make that decision for myself to be like, dude, you're wearing shorts, like forcing myself like mentally and like being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And
will people still like stare at you in public?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, like kids, especially, like kids, they're like, whoa, dude. I remember when I was a kid, like when I first saw a prosthetic or something wild out there that I've never seen, I was like, dude, what? That's there? Like that happens? That's possible?
Yeah.
So yeah, but you just, as an amputee, like I think when you just like become lighthearted about it and you can joke around with it and like you can like talk to kids about it, or, you can just be like, whatever, like it's no big deal. You can check it out. Dude,
I saw a video on your Instagram. This guy was like posting something and he was like, hey, if you grab your foot right here, and, and you basically were making fun of yourself. At what point, like after, I don't know, was it in high school, or what point did you start like, I don't know, making fun of yourself? I feel like that's a big step, like not taking yourself so serious.
Well, I did it a lot with my friends because I was really comfortable around them. And then I think the biggest thing was being more so comfortable in your own skin that you can do it around people that don't know you. But I had been doing it with my friends. Like I've known my friends since elementary school, and we have a core group of friends. And like, dude, I remember when it was like first happening, like when I was an amputee in high school and stuff. I remember like going, I'm like, dude, have you ever like fed a baby goat? And they're like, yeah. I was like, all right, close your eyes and put your hand out. And I take my leg off, and because I have a scar down here, I'd put my nub in their hand and I'd go like this. And they were like, oh, dude, it does feel like a goat's getting out of my hand. I was like, isn't that crazy? And so we would just like laugh and like make fun of it and stuff. And like, dude, I remember like they've like drawn on the bottom of my leg. Like one day I was like, I drank a little bit too much the night before, and I was feeling it, and my leg was swollen. I was hurting. We were chilling, and my buddies are just messing with me, and they're like drawing faces on my leg, and they start filming it.
Can you not feel it?
No, I could. I was just like, I'm so over it, like whatever.
Yeah. How's Scott doing?
He's good, dude. Yeah, he's a machine. I call him the ant. This guy does not stop working. He does not stop working. He ended up going pro in motocross.
No way.
Yeah, and he's one of my friends that's like a strong believer as well. And so we've had a great relationship. And so he went pro in motocross. Then he went back to school, and he graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. He's like invented and patented his own like workout materials, like equipment. He's like created these. He does web development. He's a day trader. He works.
He's a jack of all trades.
He is. What's he doing now? He's working as an engineer for some big company. I forget what the name of it is. But yeah, he's awesome, dude. So yeah, anytime I get to hang out with him, like I'm always like asking questions and trying to learn as much as I can.
Sure.
But I'm actually going to see him tonight. So yeah.
Tell him what's up. So I did mechanical engineering at Notre Dame too. So
no way,
dude. I might have to get Scott on the show to tell his motocross story.
Dude, dude, yeah, it was his birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Scott.
Yeah, happy belated, Scott. This will probably air in a couple weeks or so, but so it'll be very belated, Scott. But
it's all good, man. Bro. At least he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll tell him. I think he'd be great Because, dude, then you're getting like both sides of the picture of the story too. You know?
That would be sick. So when did you know you wanted to do track? You never ran.
No,
at least
dude.
you never said you ran track. You were doing soccer and volleyball and motocross, surfing.
So I remember in middle school, I was like, when I get to high school, I'm gonna run track. I knew like I had a good level of speed just growing up. Like, you know, when you're racing kids and stuff and you're playing sports, you're like, all right, dude, I'm faster than
you're checking
most
yourself
of the
out,
kids.
comparing yourself.
Yeah, dude, you find out who's the top dog on the playground.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to do. But then when I went to JSerra, like, I remember watching them, like, this is like post-surgery, and I'm in my prosthetic, and I see the track athletes, like, training. They're running in the parking lot, and I'm like, man, like, they didn't have a track yet and stuff. And so I just wasn't about it. And when I transferred to Cap, I wish I was, because I remember seeing, like, as well, I'm like, dude, there's so many pretty girls that are on track. Like, this would be a great way to meet them all, too.
Sure.
So I do wish I could have gone back, because I had that itch. And, like, when I was in wrestling and in doing volleyball at JSerra, we would have run workouts, and I would beat most of the kids. Like, there was still a few kids that could actually beat me. And I remember one time, like, my buddy that was on the track team at Capo, like, do you remember taping? Did you ever do taping as a kid? So we used to tape and stuff. For people that don't know what that is, that's where you put duct tape on a stop sign and, like, or on the ground of the white painted portion of the stop sign. And when a car runs over it, it sounds like they got a flat tire, and then everyone just runs. And so we were doing that all night, and the cops got called, and we were running from the cops, and my buddy was on the track team, and I remember I just started passing him, and he just was like, dude, I can't believe I'm getting passed by a guy with one foot. And he was just dying laughing. I was like, dude, that's actually a good point. Yeah, I just whooped your ass. Like,
yeah.
I was like, man, you know what? I'm still fast. And so I then later, like, when I went to that, I was talking about the guy that was making my prosthetics, and he invited me to the Challenge Athletes Foundation and OSA Running Clinic, and I didn't want to go. That's where I found out about Paralympics. So I told him no initially, and then he, like, kept bugging me, and he's like, come on, dude, like, please go for me. Like, I'll give you a shirt, just represent me out there. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll go. And so it was at Irvine College. I show up, and they put me in the group with people that are just learning how to, like, walk and run and stuff. And it was like that was my fear. I was like, I don't want to go here and, like, have to relearn this stuff, because I didn't like going to PT. I just wanted to be a normal kid. And I knew that I was athletic. I knew it in here. And one of the coaches, the head coach of the Paralympic team, he saw, I was like, I turned around, I was like, is there another group you guys can put me in? And he came up to me, and he was like, hey, Trenton, my name's Coach Cruz. I'm the head coach of the U.S. Paralympic team. Why don't you come over to this group with me? And he brought me to the elite group. And then he introduced me to two Paralympians. One was from South Africa, that's Oscar Pistorius, and the other one was Brian Fraser from the USA. And I got talking to them, and they were like, have you ever thought about pursuing Paralympics, like, as a career? And I was like, what's Paralympics? And they're like, well, essentially you'd get to travel around the world, compete for USA, you get paid to compete, and yeah, that'd be your job. I was like, no way. Like, that sounds...
Had they even seen you, like, run or anything at this point?
We were just, like, doing drills. Like, we were doing drills, and we were like, you know, like, they were putting us through a workout. And so I think,
how were you hanging with these guys?
I mean, it was like, I think I was better than everybody there.
Yeah.
And they were all older than me too. I was like 18, 19 at the time. And kind of had like an attitude, like a chip on my shoulder. And I remember thinking like where's the top dogs at, kind of thing. But I knew that Brian and Oscar were definitely faster than me. Like, because we had like a relay race, and I watched them, and I'm like, okay, yeah, those guys could whoop me. But at that time, I think I was a better athlete there, like, out of the group they were training with. But it was like all ages, like different backgrounds. Like, a lot of people were like triathletes, like distance runners. And yeah, so when they talked to me after that, I was like, I don't know what that is.
Did they all have similar, like, amputations that you did?
Yeah.
Or is
so
it all different?
Oh, like the two Paralympians, or the...
Yeah, just in general, like those guys, like Scott and Oscar, like, was it a similar, like, lower leg amputation, or...
Yeah, so Brian and Oscar, they both were below knee amputees as well. And Oscar was a bilateral amputee. And then Brian was a traumatic accident as well, and he was a below knee amputee. And so it was, yeah, there was like some, similarities in that, and getting to see how fast they were running and being like, okay, yeah, you can actually sprint really fast. like once you get the right setup. And I was just in a normal like walking foot because there's like I was telling you about like there's pylon
performance prosthetics.
Yeah.
And every day.
So, dude, I'm gonna take my leg off real quick again. So this prosthetic, this thing right here is like the old blade. What they did was this is the old sprint blade, and they put 2 bolts right here, and they bolted on a carbon fiber heel, so you can use this for walking. So this would be considered a very high or a highly active foot. But in the past, they had like low active, medium active, and high active. But it was like this big of carbon fiber, maxed out. So you can imagine like this all carbon fiber versus like a metal pylon, and then only like this much, right? So that's what I had. These guys were running on the blades, and I was like, okay, like you get a blade, you get it set up for running, then, you know, like if you train, like you can get this going. And I thought it was going to be a lot easier, actually, to be honest. Like I was like, dude, how hard can this be? Like, I'm like, I don't know. I was just, in my mind, I was like, well, if these guys can do it, so can I. But dude, it didn't come quick or easy to me. It took me time.
Wow.
It took me a lot of time, yeah.
So there's more in these performance prosthetics. There's more blade.
Yeah.
Is
So
what you're saying?
Yeah, it's just it's a bigger C shape or J shaped carbon fiber blade, and that's because you need more return when you're sprinting than versus walking.
Sure. So when this coach was like, "Do you have any interest in being a Paralympian?" Did you just go all in after that?
Dude, well, no. So at first I was like, too good to be true. Like, man, whatever. And I just went back to having fun with my friends, going to the beach and doing, you know, just partying, whatever. Like I was just doing me. And then I just remember feeling this like calling because I kept his card. The coach gave me a card and I put it on my nightstand, and I just kept ignoring it. And I was like feeling drawn to it, ignored it, feeling drawn to it, ignored it. And then one day I just felt the feeling was like overwhelming. I was like, I got to call this guy. And so I called him and he answered, and he's like, hey, like I've been waiting to talk to you. And he's like, I want to invite you down to a Paralympic development camp down at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista. And I was like, okay, I've never been there. And he's like, it's next month. I want you to come down and stay a week. I was like, okay. So when I went down there, bro, right when I stepped foot at the Olympic Training Center, I heard God's voice again. He said, I got great plans for you. I was like, no way. And so I got chills, and I was like, dude, this is where God is calling me. And I started like,
what was that moment like? What was it, an audible voice? Was it just like this overwhelming peace? Was it?
It's like something you hear inside. Yeah. It's like, it's not like you're talking to yourself, but it's like this, it's just all of a sudden it just came to you. Like, and it's like a small, like the way that God spoke to me, it was like he's just like, I got great plans for you. It was like just random, and like I was like, whoa. And I had only heard that one other time. That was 4 or 5 years earlier when I was in the hospital. So if you think about it, like, dude, I hadn't heard that at all, and all of a sudden it was like, boom, it just hit again. I was like, this is what God was saying, or at least this is part of the story. And dude, I got goosebumps. I started like, I unpacked my bags, and I put my headphones in, and I started running around the Olympic Training Center and like doing stadiums. I felt like Rocky Balboa, and I'm like, dude, this is where you belong. Like, you're a champion.
What year was this?
This was 2010.
Okay.
This was I think it was 2010, I think.
So 6 years still from your first Olympics.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what was the training process like?
Dude, well, so I had to get a running foot. I didn't have one.
Okay.
And
at this point, you just had that active foot you were talking about, but not a performance.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't a sprint foot. Yeah.
Okay.
So they had like
and you were still moving and beating everybody on this active foot?
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. Okay. Not everybody, but a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I got a jogging foot, and I was training on that for a while. And then I was like, dude, there's a sprinting foot. I was like, yeah, I got to get that. But I got it like, so, I mean, I guess the training process was I talked to a bunch of friends who are in track, and I was like, dude, I need a coach. You got a coach around here? And they were like, yeah.
What happened to the head coach? That was like, do you have any interest in being the Paralympian?
Well, he was down in Chula Vista.
Okay.
And I was in Orange County still.
Okay.
So I had only been down there for a week, And I was like, dude, I gotta start training. I gotta make this team, because only people like you. I started getting invited down for like camps and stuff down there, but to live on site, you had to be a national team athlete, and I wasn't there yet. So I was asking.
So when
friends,
he asked you if you had any interest in being a Paralympian, he was basically telling you to go train your butt off so that you could make the team to then train with him?
just in general, make the team. Like, I mean, yes and no. I'm not sure if he was like, I mean, yes, in general. Yeah.
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 So did you found a coach in Orange County, or?
Yeah. So I found a coach in Orange County, started working with him, and it was a big learning curve. It was tough. Like sprint drills, like learning how to bound. Like I didn't even know like what bounding was. No one taught me. And I was like, at first it was tough.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't get it. Like just understanding different, like motor mechanics and drills. And so it was a big
So your running
curve.
form was totally different than in the active foot. You had to learn a whole new.
Well, it like, yeah, because if you think it was like running with a brick, like the active foot, or I mean the highly active foot compared to a running blade, because a running blade's a bigger spring lever, and so the running blade felt more natural, like sprinting.
Yeah.
As long as you got the right category, because you have to be able to compress it, like because you're gonna have your muscles do that. This is replacing your tendons, ligaments, and muscles, in your joints. So I got a coach, and then I found an even better coach, and then I started training with him, and I was working my butt off. And then I went to my first nationals, and like they changed. I flew all the way to Miramar with my family and my friend, and I was just entered the 100 meters. Night before the race, check out what time my race was. I was like, all right, cool, like 11 a.m., whatever. I go to bed at like 9. I wake up the next day. I see the head coach in the lobby. He's like, hey, good morning, this and that. Eat breakfast. I go back up to my room. And then he like texts me. He's like, dude, why'd you miss your race? I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you missed it. I was like, no way. So I went back down, and I looked at the sheet, and they changed the time of my 100 meters at 10 p.m. at night. No email or anything. Just printed it out and put it on the lobby thing, like post on the lobby. And I was like, what? I was like, dude, who do I talk to? Like, I flew all the way over here for one race, and you're going to tell me like I missed it? And so I like talked him into letting me race like by myself. And I raced, and I didn't qualify for finals. And I was like, okay, God. And the crazy thing too, like I had started a Bible study group with my friends like at Saddleback Community College. And our challenge that week was like, let's write down our plans and see how God changes it. And I was like, you guys aren't going to believe how God changed my plans. Missed my 100 meters like at my first Paralympic nationals. And I was like, it was crazy, but it was one of those things, like I had so much faith and like such a close relationship with God that, yeah, I was super bummed, but I still was like, dude, God is good. He's still got good plans for me.
So what ended up being the next few months? You miss your race, you don't qualify. Was it like back to the drawing board, just back to training?
So
when was that race?
That was in June.
Okay.
June.
Of
2010.
Okay.
So took a little bit of time off just to like rest and recover. And then, then I went back to school, and I was like, dude, I need to train with a team. Like I need to get on a team. And so I approached the Saddleback Community College coach, Mark Blethen.
Yeah.
Saw him out there one day, walked up to him. I said, hey, my name's Trenten Merrill. These are my dreams of becoming a Paralympian. Can I train and compete for your team? And he was like, dude, I would love for you to compete for me. He's like, and if anybody has a problem with you competing with a prosthetic, he's like, I got your back. I was like, let's go, dude.
Dang.
Yeah. And so he was a big supporter. And I think he also like I didn't ever like, I tried not to half-ass, because for me, I felt like he was giving me a chance, and I wanted to earn it. And I knew that he didn't have to do that. And so I just worked really hard, and I feel like that opened a lot of doors for me with coaches in the future.
What were you running your 100 meters in at that point?
Dude, like 12 seconds.
It's moving.
Dude, I mean, well.
So I was running it like 11 seconds in high school, and I didn't get like any faster than that. I was like, I'm built for like 40 yards or less.
Yeah.
But that you don't.
You come out with me, I think I could probably help you out.
Yeah, you probably could. So my brother 16 months younger than me, he was like just very fluid, like a technician.
Yeah.
He could probably run like a 10.8 or something.
That's where I need to be at if I want to compete in the 100 meters at Paralympics.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's 10.6. Like those are the top dogs right now.
So I think like initially, like rationally, you'd be like, there's no advantage to like having 1 foot, but is there, like, what keeps those guys from being able to like compete in college? Like, could you compete in like the normal track and field, or did you have to compete in the para like division?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think I was one of the few athletes or one of the starting athletes to kind of push that boundary. And for me, it was still so new. And I wasn't one of those guys that was winning points. So it wasn't one of those things that where people were protesting. Sure. So it was more like, did the coach believe in me, and did he see me as an asset to the team, like through my work ethic and my attitude and what I brought to the table, and did he want to help support me and helping me win a medal at the games and make the games? So I competed in community college, just regular, just competed with everybody else, like nothing different. And then I went to Boulder, Colorado, and I tried to compete for them, and I think the head coach, like, eventually I found out that they thought I was a liability. But for me, I was one of those times where, like, God was like, how bad do you want this, Trenton? And so I trained and worked my ass off for a year by myself. And then I transferred to Azusa Pacific University, and they were very supportive, and they helped me make my first team. They helped me make my first, national team. And I was progressing, and I was getting better, and I was doing good in competitions. Like I was PRing like almost every meet, and I was getting better and better. But it, like, as good as I am now, that's where like they would have like protested probably for collegiate.
So were you just running the 100 meters, or were you doing a long jump too?
Dude, I was doing so much. I was trying it all. I didn't know what event I wanted to focus on. Like I tried javelin. I was doing the 100, 200, and 400 and long jump.
Was there one that you felt more drawn to?
The 400. I like the work ethic. I like that you had to be like a dog out there. You had to be willing to like die every day because the workouts were just super hard.
I don't know what's worse. I don't know if the 400 or the 800 is worse.
Oh, probably the 8. Probably the 8.
I think the 800 is the worst distance in performance training. The place I was training at, they would have us run like 800s. I'm like, this is horrible at 235 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, also,
I'm not supposed to be out here doing this.
No, I don't think that's going to help you get faster.
It's a gutsy event. The 400 is too, though.
Yeah. I liked it, but the problem was like, so an amputee like me, because I'm not born with it, because I have to wear a silicone liner, you build up sweat when you run. You're sweating. Now you have this silicone liner over you, and you start sweating, and it feels like your leg can fall off. And it does happen to people sometimes. It
like just slides off?
Yeah.
Is that still an issue for you today, or have they figured out the tech?
No, dude. It's still an issue.
So like when you're training, are you having to like dry
off? Yeah.
Right off?
Yeah.
When people are born with it, what do you mean they don't have to wear the? So,
majority of amputees that are born as an amputee or have it like cut off like right in the first few years, they wear socks. They wear socks, and then they go into this socket, and typically they have like this bulbous end. Mm-hmm. So on the very bottom of their limb, which keeps them in the socket, kind of like my pin. Yeah. So it's just their body keeps them in.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they sweat, their socks absorb it.
Okay.
And if I wear socks, it like, I don't know what the deal is. Like the other thing is they usually have heel pads. Doctors put the heel pads on the bottom of their limb. So that's a lot more callus material. But for anybody that's post-traumatic injury, usually it feels really uncomfortable. Maybe because we have a lot of nerve sensations and stuff.
Sure.
And our limbs just get beat up more from that.
Yeah. It was the pain you were talking about. What's the reference pain? The phantom?
The phantom pain, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a little bit separate. So like phantom pain, I get that like almost like every day. But yeah, that's a little different than the sock. The sock is like, it's just like our skin is just super sensitive. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we have to wear like this liner too, and that's what keeps it on. But I think eventually the stuff we're wearing now will change and update because it's been going on for so long. Like just the same system. Nothing's really changed.
Yeah. Who's doing the innovation in that space? You are?
I mean, I think that I will be.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope God wants to use me that way because I have all these ideas. So I think it's just...
Why is it static? Why isn't it
because
like
it's
innovating and changing? Is there just not enough people that...
I think competition. I think it's right now. There's the top dog companies, which I'm super thankful because I get to work with, and I'm sponsored by one of them.
Yeah.
So it's awesome being with one of them, being with Oser. But I think it's just because there's only a few companies out there that are just running the game, and so you get more competition. That's what's gonna
push innovation.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're at Azusa. What is the, I guess, time between like going and making the national team and training at Chula Vista?
Yeah, so I made the national team pretty much my last track season at Azusa.
So those are separate. So you do the college season and then you do the national?
Yeah, kind of like just happened perfect, like by the grace of God. Like I finished my collegiate year, but it was like my last season with Azusa. I had my nationals that June, so it's in the summer, I'm not going to school, but that summer I hit the national B team standard in the 400 meters. And I was like, dude, let's go. Like I finally made my first national team. I got like my first little national team kit like sent to my house. Then I started getting like our monthly stipend getting paid. I'm like, bro, like, and I remember hearing like one of the confirmations of success is when you're pursuing something and then you're pursuing what you love, but you start getting paid to do what you love to do. And for the longest time, I wasn't getting paid to do it. It was coming out of my own pocket. And then I was like, wow, dude, I'm like the national team's actually paying me to train and compete. And so I thought it was like awesome. And I approached my professors because I still had a semester left of upper division courses. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, like I was looking for new coaches at the time because in my mind, I was like, I need to elevate my game. I need to get with some even like better coaches, like technically and stuff. And I need to learn more. I want to learn more and more. And I got the opportunity to go live in Georgia for 5 months with my buddy. He's another Paralympian, Jared Wallace. And I told my professors that, and they were like, dude, we fully support you, Trent. Let me just go talk to the board of directors and see if I can do something for you. And he had like let me know like within that week, he's like, hey, you're good to go. You can go and finish all of the rest of your upper division courses online. I was like, no way, dude. And I thought it was one of those moments where like I started seeing themes of how God was moving in my life. And that was like a God moment. Like I was praying about it. I was trying to be really discerning, like praying about my options and being like, God, you open the door, please. Like show me what I should do and where I should go. Like, please, God. And it all happened so fast that's how I got to see how God's hand worked. Like it's one of those things like when you want something to happen and you're asking God for it and everything happens and lines up so fast where you're like, dude, that
I couldn't have orchestrated this.
Yeah. Kind of like your house thing, like you were telling me. Like it was just like, dude, all these other people were like making these offers and stuff, but boom, God made it happen.
Those are the moments. I feel like your story in general, I feel like God so often like has drawn closest to me in my brokenness, like in my most vulnerable places where it's like you lose. Our pastor last week was calling it self-salvation projects. Like we love to trust and like put our faith in ourselves, but like there are moments in life where you're not going to be able to like get it done on your own accord. And like, I feel like those are the moments where it's like, you're trusting so much in deliverance that like, that's when it actually, you see it the most.
I know. And it I hate.
I'm about to shut this. You need me to shut the window? when you hear